I'm Daisy.
And I'm Terri.
And this is the Monday Mindset Podcast,
where we share things of interest to us and hopefully to you.
So let's get started with episode number 65. This week, it's Terri's turn to share something she's found interesting. What have you got for us today, Terri?
Well, Daisy, I've had quite a week of trying to decide what to share because I've been finding some new things, but it's a little bit overwhelming. I'm reading a book. I listened to that author on 2 or 3 podcasts, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to save that when I can really do it justice in a couple of episodes down the road. So this morning I was scrambling for something that would be a little more shareable right now and a little shorter for us. So I went back to one of my tried and true favorites of Lewis Howes on the School of Greatness. And it is episode 1130, How to Create the Perfect Morning Routine for Success. And it's only Lewis Howes. It's not with any guests.
Oh, it's one of his solo ones. He does some quite good, 5 top tips for this, that, or the other, doesn't he?
And what I like about it, as you know from listening to it, is so it's not just him talking about his own topic, which he can do very well, but it's also he has interviewed so many people on these topics. So it's kind of him presenting what he's pulled together from all of this experience. But the reason I really liked this one is I think it's very simple. And I think sometimes you and I find things that are really awesome, but they're pretty in-depth and there's steps and background and all this stuff that we try to share. And so I chose one this week that I don't have a lot to say about, but I think it can be helpful for people to think about anyway.
Exciting.
The other reason I chose this, honestly, is a little bit of a selfish thing. This is an area in my life where I feel like I need to do some work, and it's something that feels a little more tangible than some other places in my life where I need to be doing some work. So I chose to present this topic to kind of get me going on this. So creating an effective morning routine, I believe, is really important from this episode and other people that I've listened talk about it, is that it really is a way to organize your brain, your mind, and organize your day. And I think this is important for me because I tend to wander around a lot in my day.
Same.
And and I think when I really reflect on it, I spend a lot of my day thinking about what I need to be doing or could be doing or should be doing, want to be doing, rather than actually doing. And I just think this is an inefficient way that I'm kind of managing things right now that I want to make some progress in. So I think a morning routine will be a big boost for that. And based on conversations you and I have, also thought it might be helpful for you, and therefore my guess is for many of our listeners. So one of the first things he talked about comes from, there's actually a book titled this, but Make Your Bed. Now, one of the things they talked about this, and he didn't go into any great detail about really any of these strategies, but making your bed is a way to tidy up, to neaten up your life and set your day up, rather than starting it with some chaos around you, to start it out with some structure around you. The other thing that I think it does, and this comes from some research I was doing over the past week or so for my work, is looking at stress and stress responses. And one way we can help decrease the negative impact stress has in our lives and be better prepared for how we deal with stress and how we encounter stress is to train ourselves for some delayed gratification, some self-control training. And really, when you think about getting up, it's probably the last thing you want to do is turn around and make your bed. You want to go to the bathroom, you want to get up, you want to get your coffee, you want to just do what you need to do. You're maybe in a haze, but training yourself to stop and take the 2 or 3 minutes to make your bed is actually, I think, one of these examples of self-control training that can actually help us with our stress responses, bigger picture. So making your bed, great first step. Then any of these other things are really just things that Lewis Howes has pulled from other interviews and other experts that he has talked to. And I want to be really clear as I go through these. It does not mean that you should do all of these things. And really what he recommends is that you choose 2 or 3 things and do them for 7 days. Now, we know from a past conversation you and I had with an episode from Caroline Leaf that much research nowadays shows that it takes 66 days to make a new habit actually a habit. But he said to even break that down at first, rather than committing to this is going to be my morning routine from now until forever, to just say I'm doing this for 7 days and build into the routine. So as I talk about some things to consider making part of your routine, and you might have other things, again, please don't make a list of I'm going to do these 23 things every morning. So Lewis talked about doing some form of something related to gratitude. And you and I have talked about that a number of times. So that could be doing a gratitude journal. That could be doing a gratitude meditation. Meditation is another great suggestion on his list. So something that gets you in that mindset of gratitude. He talks about that's one of the first things he does. He wakes up, he makes his bed, and then he expresses gratitude. And then he even just talked about giving thanks for the fact that he woke up. You know, there are a lot of people who won't wake up that day. And so just appreciating whatever your beliefs are, you know, the universe, a creator, whatever, about why it is that you woke up that day and being appreciative of that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that some people find potentially overwhelming about gratitude journals or meditation or just saying it out like whatever it is, but gratitude, especially if they're not in a good place mood wise. Like, I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything to be grateful for. I can't think of anything to be happy about. It's just pick the most ridiculously stupid small thing. Mm-hmm. There's got to be something that you can find. Mm-hmm. There's got to be something. You know, my dog's made me smile. Oh, gosh, that first sip of coffee is great. Mm-hmm. Or it just wakes me up a bit. Or, you know, whatever it is, the tiniest little thing. Like you say, you could just get in the routine of saying, you know, I'm thankful that I woke up this morning. Yep. So obvious, but it's something to say. Yep. There's always something you can say, and it gets easier with practice. Mm-hmm. I just want to say that because it sounds like such an easy thing to do, but there are a lot of people that find that particular challenge very challenging.
And even things like, you know, this bed is so comfortable and I'm so grateful I was able to sleep here last night. You know, I walk most mornings now. I see a lot of homeless people on the street here. And so I have so much I'm grateful I can be walking right then. I'm grateful my feet work and I listen to podcasts and things while I walk. I'm grateful that I have the technology to do that. So again, simple little things. They don't have to be big global gratitudes. He did mention the cold shower, so taking on your theme. And for those people who might feel intimidated by that, you can take a hot shower and then just end it with 1 minute of cooler water at the end. Now, he has trained with Wim Hof. He has gone to Poland and, you know, gone in freezing rivers and lakes and mountains.
Yeah, done the full on climbing up Everest in his pants.
Yes, absolutely. So he's a firm believer in the power of this, but really just to simplify it and utilize it at home. And the other thing it does is it wakes you up. It makes you very alert. So for many of us who might start our day a little bit groggy and you feel like it takes you the first hour or so to really kind of get in tune with yourself, doing this practice can kind of snap you into more alertness, more into your energy.
And I think another thing, again, I'm just trying to simplify the simple every time, is, you know, somebody might be not in the routine of having a shower in the morning, or, you know, that might even be too much time, or whatever it is. How long does it take to run the cold water over your wrist, chill that, and then splash cold water on your face? Away you go. You could start with that,
Absolutely.
Couldn't you? 30 seconds.
Absolutely. He also talked about first thing when he gets up, even before the cold shower, for him is to drink water. And he acknowledged, of course, that, you know, a lot of people, their first drink in the morning is coffee or tea. But if you think about water, when we wake up, we need hydration. We've gone for many hours without rehydrating. So our brain and our cells need hydration. And unfortunately, coffee is a dehydrating fluid. For him, for example, he drinks a tall glass of water when he first gets up, and then he will drink his bulletproof coffee. But he's had the water first for that immediate hydration. So that's an important one. Again, the idea of meditations, that could be some type of gratitude, but it'd be any kind of meditation. Again, gives our brain a good start to the day. Again, going back to the research on stress, it can help our brain and how it works to mediate stress better when stress happens. A lot of positive impact of meditation, longer term, not just when you're doing it.
Yep.
He also talked about doing something. Maybe, again, it might just be a few minutes of reflecting. It might be some journaling or looking at your vision board or something, but something related to thinking about your intention for the day or your goals. He also talked about, for him, he thinks a little bit about the goals of this season in his life. And he says, when I was in college and an athlete, my goals were very different than what they are at this time in my life. But something to just kind of keep you focused on your purpose, what you intend to do, because we tend to be more driven and motivated when we know there's a purpose behind it. He focused a little bit on exercise. Now, for him, of course, he likes to do, I don't remember the word to use, but basically it's structured pain or something like that. But, his workouts would be
does not sound appealing.
No, but his exercise would be something quite intense. But he said, even if it means a 10-minute walk, exercise. And again, going back to the stress research, exercise in the morning is even more helpful with that. So doing something, getting some movement in the morning, that could be stretching, that could be yoga, walking, just something to kind of get things moving. I thought of a couple other things to add to his list. If you're into a little bit of more woo-woo biohacking kinds of things, getting early morning sunlight, which is helpful and for many reasons, but one reason is that it helps with the melatonin production. And also grounding or earthing. So you mentioned this in last week's episode about getting your feet on the ground, getting your feet, in the dirt, in the grass, barefoot, not with shoes. And even, if you can't be outside for this, there are grounding mats, there are grounding blankets and pads and things that help ground the electrical currents that is helpful.
Yeah, and I mean, even just, I know it's not serving that full purpose of the potentially woo-woo, depends how you look at it, side of it, of the electric currents and force fields and all that stuff. But I think there's something just the tactile nature of walking barefoot. I'm barefoot now. I'm barefoot most of the time, walking around, and there's just something about being in contact with the ground you're walking on. So I will walk from the rug to the wood floor, outside onto the asphalt, the cement in the bathroom, the different surfaces that you feel under your feet. There's something, I don't know what it is about it, but there's something soothing and grounding, I guess, about that.
It keeps you more connected to your senses, because that's something you can sense at any time.
Right.
So as far as, again, in this episode, he talked then a little bit more specifically what his morning routine looks like and things that he's learned. But these are the main topics that he really talked about. But one of the other things that I liked about his conversation is that if you think about establishing a routine, a morning routine, it also can help us feel accomplished, which helps build confidence. You could many days check in with me at 11 or 12 and say, so Terri, what have you done today? And I would be like, I don't know. Versus when you have a morning routine that's really established, you could check in with me at 8:30 and what have you done today? Well, I made my bed, I drank my water, I took my walk, and I did my meditation. So it automatically gives us a sense of accomplishment. It tends to build our confidence. And he actually put together some of this in a ebook on, I think it's called The Millionaire Morning or Millionaire Mindset or something. So I'm not talking about this necessarily to become millionaires, but to feel more successful, to feel more accomplished. That productivity feeling is helpful for us. And you and I have been talking about managing depression and different things. And so being mindful of accomplishing things rather than I have just kind of sat here all day and wandered around trying to figure out what to do. Very different experience of that. So I think the morning routine thing can be really important. He also talked about, and I don't remember the author of or the podcast or whoever he got this from, but I've heard this from some other people as well, making it a goal that your morning routine, you do not miss 2 times in a row. So let's say you're on holiday and it's raining in the morning, and so you're not going to get your half-hour walk in. The next day, you need to get that half-hour walk in. Now, I, of course, you know me well enough to know I'm not so rigid that at all expense I'd say, no, you must do that 30 minutes. But if you think about how quickly we break habits and we lose track of them, everyone I know will admit to building them takes so much time and, effort.
Yeah.
And but losing it happens right away.
Yep.
So you don't do it 2 times in a row. You don't miss it 2 times in a row. And then I would think for me, that would have to be a pretty rare occasion then. If once you really get in that established routine, that it would be a pretty rare occasion that you would miss something more than once. Let's say, for example, you didn't get a good night's sleep. Your morning routine is probably going to be off, but it's then really important that you reestablish it for the next night. He also started this whole conversation talking about getting a good night's sleep. And of course, you and I have talked about that before as well. For him, it's between 7 and 8 hours. And he said, obviously, I don't get 7 or 8 hours all of the time. But, a few nights ago, he got 3 or 4 hours of sleep and he felt it and he was off. And so it was really important to get himself back into that routine as quickly as he could to reestablish that. So again, I really tried to choose something that was very simplified. No one has to buy anything for any of this or remember complicated things, just to really start establishing for you what helps you get your day going actively. Maybe if you think of some of these things with some gratitude, with some positive intention. And again, check it out. Do it for 7 days and see. Then you might decide to expand that a little bit. But I just wanted to share these kind of quick tips for setting up your morning routine for a positive mindset and a successful day.
One thing I was just going to say about one of the last points you made about not missing it more than 2 times in a row. And what that took me back to actually was what you were saying at the beginning about not taking on too many habits. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking not making them too complicated or taking up too much time. So, for example, if you've overslept because you haven't had the best night's sleep, and a great excuse for not doing your morning routine is, I don't have the time. Well, if your morning routine has some key components that you always do, and then some surplus ones that you do when you feel like carrying on or you have a bit more time. But say if your morning routine was making the bed, splashing your face with cold water, and maybe sitting for 3 minutes of meditation. Well, you're probably talking about 5 minutes in total there. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to find a pretty good excuse not to do that morning routine every day. So I think that is where I would start, with something so quick, so easy, so simple that it's really not difficult to do it every day. When you're talking about, and you might feel like going for a half an hour walk every morning, but a half an hour walk is still, to me, straight away, that feels like a bit of a commitment. So for me anyway, I think starting with small things, short things, quick things. Mm-hmm. And I'm very pleased to say that I actually do some of them, well, at least one of them, I do make the bed. Now, I don't have a fancy bed to make. Making my bed doesn't actually involve much. It's really a case of just straightening the pillows and pulling the covers back. And I kind of have to because I'm looking at it. My bed is currently in my living room. But I have to say, even when it was in a separate bedroom in France, I still made the bed. There are practical reasons for that. The dogs like to sleep where my pillow was. So if I don't make the bed, one of the dogs will take that place pretty quickly. But that's a part of my morning routine that is so set, is so normal. And I usually do it actually before I go downstairs to the loo. But occasionally when I don't, and I come back up and straight away it's jarring to me because the bed's not made and I go straight away to make it. So I'm pleased to say that is absolutely set as part of my morning routine already. I like this idea, and I don't know if I was struggling to remember, and I should have Googled it, what the book is called and who wrote it. I don't have a good memory, but it's something along the lines of, it's called something like Morning Miracle, or I think he has a group called the 5 o'clock Morning Club or something. I can't remember, and I can't remember who it is, and I will remember, and I'll put it in the show notes. But his book is all about a morning routine that is more extensive. It's about getting up an hour earlier at 5 o'clock. It's assuming, of course, that we get up at 6 o'clock, which I certainly don't. But the point is to get up an hour earlier, and you spend an hour doing things. And I think he splits it into 3 main things. Gratitude, he has reflection, and then he has a section, I think must be more than that because there's exercise, but then there's also reading a book for a certain period of time.
2 people that I can think of that I've listened to talk about morning routine. One is Hal Elrod.
That's the one, him.
So his is called The Miracle Morning.
That's the one. Yeah. That's the one that was so strange. Because I think actually it just starts about talking about waking up at 6. I can't remember what it was, but it was during the period where I was really struggling with getting up in the mornings. And I was reading it at night. And weirdly, I kept waking up. I didn't get up, but, one step at a time. I was weirdly waking up on the dot of 6 o'clock every morning when I was reading it. It was very strange. But no, I do like the principle. And like you, it's something that I've been thinking I must get together a better morning routine because I tend to faff about a bit. And I get sidetracked by looking at social media, and I might spend more time walking the dogs than maybe would be ideal. And, and you can get to lunchtime and it's like, what have I done so far with the morning? Mm-hmm. Whereas if you've had a productive morning and you get to lunchtime and you're like, wow, all this stuff I've got done by lunchtime, mm-hmm. I feel really good. Let's go on to do some more and have as a productive afternoon. Mm-hmm. It does make a big difference. So yes, it's definitely something that I've been meaning to get a bit more rigid in my planning about.
I was thinking about that as well, those 2 parts that you described of, I want to think about the 10-minute morning routine, the very brief little things. And then because, for example, some mornings I have an early morning start. And if I have an hour and a half morning routine, I am not going to get up an extra hour and a half early to get all of that done before that first early morning meeting. Mm. But if it's a 5, 10, 15-minute morning routine,
it's doable.
There's no reason I can't do that regardless of what my start time is for work that day. And then the other pieces of it, like you said, maybe in a regular day, this past week, I have been working on walking every day, and most days it has been before noon. Every once in a while, it has been in the afternoon, but I feel better when I do it before noon, when it's part of that morning start of my day, rather than when I wait. Because like I'm imagining many people, if I don't do it in the morning, I keep putting it off and finding reasons why not now, not yet, wait, I'll do it later. And then by the end of my day, I don't feel the energy to do it. And I lose the motivation and say, I'll do it tomorrow. Whereas when I do it in the morning, it's done. There's no excuse. I do it. It feels good. It starts me off. It gives me energy. And then I don't procrastinate it throughout the day.
Great. Well, yes, I think there's definitely some things in there that I'm going to go away and think about and implement. I've just got to decide how to put them into action and how to make them short enough and easy enough to get started on. And I think with all these things, once you get used to doing something regularly, it becomes a lot easier to lengthen them, to add on things that take a bit longer or a bit more complicated. You just feel more like taking that extra step, but you need to start small.
Absolutely. Well, I hope everyone can take this and structure it into their own morning routine and find something that really helps them get their day started right. And I hope everyone has a great week. Take good care, Daisy.
Have a wonderful week.